YouTube, in this video, I'm going to be ranking every Eastern Conference team's starting five for the upcoming 2024-25 NBA season. This, of course, being part two of our four-part series where, in part one yesterday, we covered every single Western Conference team's starting five. So check out that video if you guys haven't already. And then part three and part four will be ranking every team's bench in their respective conferences. So make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel because this is only part two of the four-part series. And I'll mention this again, just like last video. Most of these lineups are unconfirmed by the team and the coaching staffs, so these are just the projected lineups that are supposed to be for each team. I can't really predict exactly what the lineups will be, but I'm going to take my best guess and do some research. So these are projected lineups. I just do want to make that clear. Some changes could happen by the time the season starts. Another thing that I didn't mention last time is I'm assuming everybody's healthy, all right? So I know some people on these lineups will be injured at least to start the season, but for the sake of the video, we're just going to pretend everybody's healthy. So a good example would be Kristaps Porzingis on the Celtics. He's going to be in my Celtics lineup because while he is injured to start the season, it would be unfair not to put him in their lineup because he will be back within a few months. And one more piece of information before we get into the rankings is the criteria. My criteria is basically, it's not necessarily the best five players have the best lineup, right? A lot of times it's about fit and chemistry. And so you could have five superstars in a lineup, but if they don't fit well together on either end of the floor, I will be ranking them lower than a team with one superstar and a bunch of complementary role players that fit extremely well. So that's the criteria. With all of that being said, sorry for the long intro. Let's get right into ranking every Eastern Conference team's starting five for the upcoming 2025 season. Let's go, folks. And starting with the number 15 team, there is a clear number 15, in my opinion at least, and I think it is the Brooklyn Nets, all right? And while I do like that the Brooklyn Nets are rebuilding, and I like the strategy they're employing this offseason, trading Mikal Bridges, listen, this lineup is just not going to cut it as far as the Eastern Conference goes to be ranked ahead of anybody else. Could make a case that the number 14 team, their starting five could be the 15th. We'll get into that in a second, but the Brooklyn Nets starting five is projected to be Dennis Schroeder, Cam Thomas, Dorian Finney-Smith, Cameron Johnson, and Nick Claxton. Now, while there are some veteran talents in this lineup, and I actually like the skill sets of a lot of these guys, how they fit together, it's just not good enough, and again, this isn't like a mark on the Nets as a whole. Like, I think they're doing the right thing with this rebuild. I just have to rank them 15th because, again, while you do have some nice young players there, some, veterans with a lot of talent, for one, a lot of these players will be traded by the deadline, and at number two, it's just not hitting as hard as any other lineup. So Nets fans, don't be discouraged by the number 15 ranking. You guys are doing a great thing in the rebuild. I expect you guys to be a really good team, like within a few years. It's just going to take some time. Coming in at the number 14 spot, another rebuilding team, and this is the Washington Wizards. And another team that I like the strategy they're employing. They had a great offseason in my opinion. You could rank the Wizards 15th. I could hear a case for either one. The Wizards starting lineup is supposed to be Malcolm Brogdon, Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, Alex Sarr, and Jonas Valanciunas. There's a little bit more pop in this lineup for me than the Brooklyn Nets. There is a lot of question marks with this lineup, like how will Jordan Poole play in 2025? Is Alex Sarr ready to, get on the NBA stage and dominate defensively like a lot of people will project him to, or is it going to take a lot of years? Obviously, these are question marks, but we know a few things. We know Malcolm Brogdon is a solid starting point guard in this league. We know Kyle Kuzma is a very good forward in this league, someone that I think could be on the move by the deadline. Another guy I think teams are going to be really interested in. He's a great offensive player. And then Jonas Valanciunas coming over from the New Orleans Pelicans this summer to, play that center role in Washington. I love the consistency he's going to bring to the front court. Having three veterans like that are just capable of night-to-night production on a quality, starter level is big for me in these rankings. Again, I know the Nets have a couple of those guys too, but at the end of the day, I just like the Wizards to maybe add a little bit more pop, like I said, and you can rely on those three guys. So they're going to be number 14. Now, this is where the list gets a little bit interesting because basically now we're in the territory of like teams trying to win games. And so unfortunately, for this fan base, I do have to rank the Detroit Pistons number 13th. I actually think there's a good chance the Pistons finish above the 13th seed in the Eastern Conference this season. But for the starting lineup, again, there's just a lot of question marks. I like the talent that they're putting on the floor this season. It's a lot better, and you can expect a lot more wins, I believe. But, I expect the Detroit Pistons lineup to be Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey. The three position is a little bit uncertain. A lot of people are either saying Malik Beasley, Simone Fontecchio come up at the starting three, around the internet and stuff. So I would personally go with Fontecchio. I think that makes the most sense in this lineup, but I could see either one of those guys taking his place. Beasley Beasley, or Thompson. But either way, it'll be Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, maybe Simone Fontecchio, definitely Tobias Harris and Jalen Duren in the front court. No question about that. Listen, this is a lineup capable of some decent things and a lot of growth out of these young guys. I do think Tobias Harris coming over from my 76ers is going to make the Pistons a lot better, and it's going to stabilize the front court a little bit better. I do think Duren and Cade both take leaps this season. We'll have to see how Jaden Ivey starting next to Cade under a new coach in JB Bickerstaff works out. The 3 position is a little bit uncertain. I think either Fontecchio, Beasley, or Thompson would, provide all different things, but if you're trying to win the most games, I'd probably go with Fontecchio, to be honest with you. But anyway you slice it, I just think the 12 teams above them have a better starting 5, and that is why I have the Detroit Pistons at 13. For the number 12 ranking, in the Eastern Conference, I'm gonna have the Toronto Raptors. And again, this is another team that I like quite a bit. I think with the 2 play-in spots, the bottom 2, the number 9 and 10 seed, barring injury to the top teams in the East, could be wide open for the taking for one of these younger teams like Toronto. And I actually think they'll be right up there. And so I like the starting 5 at Toronto. This is a little bit more versatile of a starting 5 on both ends than I think some of the teams below them. I predict this lineup to be Emmanuel Quickley, Grady D. I'm not trying to get demonetized here. I don't know if that's going to happen if I say the last name, so I'm going to avoid that. RJ Barrett, Scotty Barnes, and Jakob Poeltl. Listen, this front court is extremely talented. Jakob Poeltl and Scotty Barnes, that's one of the better front courts we've read off so far. As far as winning goes, I just think this is a little bit more of a ready to win lineup, in my opinion. Again, defensively, I really like this unit. And I think with Grady potentially taking a big leap like you saw him do towards the end of last season, he really started to put things together. I think he's going to be a fantastic shooter in this league, and I think he adds a lot of spacing to this lineup. RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley going to provide so much offense to this team. I like the defense all across the board. This is no question a lineup that if you really wanted to convince me, you could say it's like 10th, and I might not disagree with you, but it's a little bit of a slim margin between the Raptors at 12 and basically everyone I have until like 9 or 10. And so I could be convinced either way. Let me know down in the comment section, Raptors fans or not, or the maybe fans of the teams I'm going to name next. What order should the 9 seed to the 12 seed be in this video? Please let me know. But I have the Raptors 12th. For the 11th ranked team in the Eastern Conference starting 5, I have the Charlotte Hornets. And again, this was a tough kind of order to rank some of these teams. I like the Charlotte Hornets starting 5 a ton. I mean, I would actually predict it to be LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Josh Green, Miles Bridges, and Mark Williams. That is a fantastic lineup. Again, this is a team I actually predict to be in the play-in tournament, the 10th seed in the Eastern Conference this year. And this starting lineup's a big reason why. When you consider the offensive ability of this lineup with LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and Miles Bridges, this is a fantastic 3-man duo offensively with a lot of range as far as what their skill sets are. When we see LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges play a full healthy season together, good things happen, and I would expect that to happen again this season. Brandon Miller is one of my breakout candidates this year. I think he's going to have an explosive offensive season. I think he could be in MIP talks in my personal opinion. And then Mark Williams, a lot of the stuff I like about the Hornets is their big man duo, particularly Mark Williams. I think he has so much upside at that center position. Again, we just have to see all these players healthy. And then Josh Green, coming over from Dallas as a part of that Klay Thompson deal, he's going to add some good defense on the wing here and maybe some perimeter shooting. I like this lineup a lot. I think it's super versatile. I think you got your rim protector, you got your rebounding, you have a ton of playmaking and shooting. I just really like it, particularly offensively. I think this could be a fantastic lineup. And now you add a versatile wing defender into the mix. This team could win a lot of games if all these 5 guys stay healthy and consistent in their lineup. I have the Hornets at 11, and again, this is not a mark on them by any means, putting them at 11. I shared a ton of stuff about what I like about the previous teams, including Toronto, and so it was really hard for me between the Hornets being like 11th, 10th, or 9th, and again, I could be convinced that they're 9th. Let me know down in the comments, but I do love this lineup. Knock on wood for a healthy season. And at the number 10 seed, this is where it gets really interesting because the 9 and 10 to me are so close. I have the Chicago Bulls, and you're going to say, Dehave, the Chicago Bulls are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. What are you talking about? Listen, I get that, but if you look at this team's projected starting lineup, this is nowhere near the bottom of the East, in my opinion. 10th is a really good seed, and I would actually consider moving them up to 9th. Like, I actually had them 9th in my original draft of this kind of list, and then I really thought about it and thought about some of the inconsistencies, but either way, the Bulls starting 5 is really good. This is play-in caliber, no question, of the starting 5 if everything works out, if these guys actually see the minutes they're supposed to, because as we know, Chicago Bulls are probably going to want to lose as many games as possible. I believe they have a top 10 protected pick, and so if they fall out of the top 10 in records in the league, they will lose their first round pick. As we know, this is a rebuilding team, but let me just read you this starting 5. It's going to be Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, and Nikola Vucevic. That is a very good starting 5. That is certainly competitive with a lot of teams in the East across the board. Offensively, you have your playmaker extraordinaire Josh Giddey. Giddey. This guy is a amazing, awesome offense runner and playmaker. Super high basketball IQ. I'm so interested to see what he's going to do with the Bulls, considering, a bigger opportunity. This guy has a lot of talent. And then Kobe White, runner-up for most improved player last season. He's a fantastic guard, capable of a ton of offense, and I like his athleticism as well. I also like his competitiveness. And then Zach LaVine, he's going to have so much to prove this season. And honestly, I think if Zach LaVine comes out of the gate and has a good, Zach LaVine standard for his first 30 games, he's going to be traded by the deadline. He just has an awful contract, but I expect him to play super well in this lineup, at least initially this season. And then Patrick Williams, who comes in, at the 4 position, a super good defender and talented three-point shooter, one of the most consistent three-point catch and shoot guys in the league, in my opinion. And then you have Nick Vucevic, one of the best offensive centers in the league. This lineup is stacked with talent, and so I expect this lineup to not be the lineup by the time the trade deadline rolls around, but we'll have to see about that. I could be convinced that this team is ranked 9th. Again, there's little separation between basically the Raptors and who I have at 9, and who I have at 9 is the Atlanta Hawks. When we think about the Atlanta Hawks, this team has really bolstered their defensive lineup, and particularly adding, Zachary Rissache in the offseason to come in and be a versatile wing defender of guarding multiple positions. One of the biggest problems with the Hawks over recent memory is their perimeter defense and just kind of their defense in general. This team has a lot of size next to Trae Young. Let's not forget Trae Young's one of the best point guards in the league when he's at the top of his game, a guy that can take over a game when he's at his best, a guy that can run your offense maybe as efficiently as anyone. He's certainly one of the most talented, ball handling guards. And so now you put a lot of size and defense around him. I think this lineup, starting lineup is going to be Trae Young, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Zachary Rissache, Jalen Johnson, and Clint Capella. Let me just say for the 9 millionth time on this channel, if you guys are new, Jalen Johnson is going to have a borderline star caliber season. This guy is going to be a star in this league. It's only a matter of time. I am sold and I am fully on the Jalen Johnson bandwagon. This guy is special and he's going to start to prove that this season. Zachary Rissache is going to come in and provide so much quality defense. Hopefully, if Zachary Rissache can knock down a consistent 3-ball and do all the things that he's supposed to defensively on a consistent basis and throughout the season, work on things like his shot creation, like his playmaking ability, this guy could be one of the best two-way wings in the league. As far as this season in particular, I don't know that he's going to show all of those things, but if he can just get the 3-ball down around league average on catch and shoots, this lineup is going to be a problem. And then Clint Capella, a very underrated center in this league, still one of the best rim runners and good rim protector, good rebounder, good finisher. This team is going to be going places this season if everything that I said goes well for them. And so, not only do you have Jalen Johnson and Trae Young probably leading this offense, no doubt, you have Bogdan Bogdanovic, who I would expect to start as the 2 guard. And this guy's a bucket. We all know Bogey's a bucket. You guys watch the Olympics. This guy was absolutely out of his mind. And so Bogey next to Trae Young, this is a great pairing. They work so well together. This team has a lot of chemistry built up from years past. They only added Rissache into the lineup. So I love the Hawks lineup this season. I think it's versatile on both ends. I would expect them to be a play-in team at the 9th seed in the league. I expect this lineup to be the 9th best in the Eastern Conference. Now, this is kind of where the teams start to separate from the Hawks, and basically from the 8th team to maybe the 4th or 5th team, there's a big gap between this team and the Hawks. And then I would say maybe little gaps between each individual team until you get to around the 4th seed or the 3rd seed. But I will be having the Miami Heat with the 8th best starting lineup in the Eastern Conference this season. The only reason that I don't have them higher, and believe me, I would have them higher if this wasn't the case, a lot of people are projecting that the starting lineup will include Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero, which I just don't like. We'll get into that in a second, but starting lineup is supposed to be Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Nikola Jovic, and Bam Adebayo. And listen, on paper, this is a fantastic lineup. You have a lot of offense in the backcourt, you have a lot of defense in the front court, and obviously Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, 2 of the league's best players. The problem for me is I think one of those guys, Hero or Rozier, should come off the bench, and Jaime Jaquez maybe, or someone like that, should start at the 2. I just think this defense in the backcourt is going to get cooked a little bit. I don't think Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero need to play on the floor together. I think they'd be much better if one of those guys would come off the bench and you start someone with a little bit more of a versatile skill set defensively at the 2 guard. This no question will be one of the best defenses in the league. But as far as the starting 5's concerned, other than the backcourt, there's a ton of size on this team. Especially in the front court, you have Jovic and Bam. Bam's going to take a leap in 3-point shooting this season, which is incredible for the Heat's lineup. Jimmy Butler's in a contract here. He's going to be absolutely incredible in the regular season, in my opinion. And then obviously, even me saying that I think Rozier and Hero should split time and split lineups, they're both fantastic offensive players and perimeter players who give a lot of heart and a lot of perimeter shooting. And so the perimeter shooting is there, no question. The defensive versatility is there, especially in from 3 to 5. This is a very switchable unit. I don't know, What do you guys think about Rozier and Hero starting at 1 and 2? I just don't think it works that well, but I could be wrong. Maybe that isn't even the starting lineup. If it is, though, I have them at 8. If you were to tell me, they're going to put like maybe Jaime Jaquez, but then you would lack a lot of shooting. I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation. I could see the Heat being anywhere from 6 to 8, but I just have them at 8th for this video. I do like the lineup, though. Obviously, it is a playoff caliber lineup. Now, moving on to number 7. This is where some of these teams in this kind of bracket are very hard to rank. As I mentioned, the 8th seed through the 4th seed is kind of hard to rank. I do have, for the starting lineup portion of it at least, being the Indiana Pacers at 7. And listen, if you're the 7th ranked team with this lineup, you know the Eastern Conference is absolutely amazing because this lineup is incredible, top to bottom. You have Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, and Miles Turner. I don't see any weaknesses in this lineup as far as players go. Like, maybe the weakest link is Aaron Nesmith, and he is a knockdown laser from beyond the three-point arc, and he's a good defender. And so you have a great starting center in Miles Turner. You have a great starting power forward in Pascal Siakam. You have one of the top 5 point guards in the entire league in Tyrese Halliburton, a very special talent, and Andrew Nembhard, who is a really good perimeter defender on the point of attack, and he's going to have a breakout season. And so, like, this team is deep, but their lineup is so good. The only thing maybe you could say isn't the best about this lineup will be their rebounding and their interior presence. I do think Turner at times is more of a perimeter big and a weak side shot blocker more than a true traditional interior force there. So the rebounding, I think, could use some work in this lineup. But as far as like the versatility on both ends, it is there. I mean, this is going to be a lot better of a defensive lineup for the Indiana Pacers, which is something they struggled with last season. And the playmaking is outrageous from Halliburton, obviously going to be the star of the show, the lead ball handler. Pascal Siakam is a very good playmaker. You have Nembhard as well, who's a exceptional playmaker. Like the shooting is really good. Like this, all these guys are smart player that can shoot the basketball. And so like this just is so versatile. I love this lineup, but at 7th, it's hard to rank this team 7th. I was going to rank them 6th or 5th, but then I start going through the list of Eastern Conference teams and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like Pacers have such a great lineup, but I just can't rank them any higher. I'm sorry, Pacers fans. Coming in at number 6, I give the Orlando Magic just a slight edge over the Indiana Pacers. Again, not a knock on the Pacers, more of an homage to the Magic. So this lineup defensively is going to be an absolute nightmare. You could say either this team or the Miami Heat will be the best defense in the Eastern Conference, no question. But the size, the sheer size and physicality of this starting lineup for the Magic, which will likely be Jalen Suggs, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP, who they added from Denver in the offseason, which makes this lineup 1,000 times better in my opinion. Jalen Suggs, KCP, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Wendell Carter Jr. This lineup is so big. They're so physical. They have a lot more spacing now with KCP in the lineup. I think Franz and Paolo take a little bit of a step up as well, and Franz had a down year last year, but this team is so versatile on both ends now that you have a sniper from the outside who can also play defense. Like 1 through 5, this lineup defensively is crazy. 1 through 5, they are competitors. They are physical players, and they also have a lot of offense to them as well. Another team that's super deep, but also has a great starting 5. And so I just think I give the little bit of the edge to Orlando because of the physicality, man. Like 1 through 5, there's an identity in this lineup, and it all across the board, it works so well. They're going to complement each other on both ends extremely effectively. And so, adding KCP, if KCP wasn't in this lineup and you had maybe someone else with less shooting ability, I'd have this lineup, probably around 8 or 7, but it just cannot be understated how much KCP is going to add to this team offensively. And defensively, he's still, a really solid point of attack guy, one of the best. And so, like, just two ways this team is so good. They are going to be a nightmare to play. Like, this team is just going to body you up, use their physicality, their strength, and their toughness. It's similar to the Timberwolves, man. Their defensive identity is actually like the driving force of this team, and it's going to work so well with this lineup. With all of the offensive firepower in the Eastern Conference and in the league in general these days, with the offensive explosion of how good players are, it's so refreshing to see a team that just wants to bully you with physicality and size and strength in the paint. And so that is the Orlando Magic to a T. I love what they're doing over there, how they're building their team, and their lineup is just so good. Coming in at number 5, I struggled between putting this team either 5 or 4. I think it's very similar between 5 and 4. I think there's maybe a little bit of a gap between 6 and 5, if that makes sense. But for the number 5 team, I'm going to have the Cleveland Cavaliers. And again, this starting lineup is one of the best in the league, no question. Probably be top 10 for me if I had to rank them all. Probably like, the back end of the top 10. I might have put them 4th in a different, circumstance. I just don't know. Wasn't an easy choice, let me tell you. Cleveland's starting 5 is absolutely outrageous. It's going to be Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. I think it could be Isaac Okoro or Max Strus at the 3. I'd probably start Okoro if I'm being honest with you guys. He just got paid from the Cavs. Finally, it's about time time, huh? Yeah, I'd probably start Okoro for the defense, but it does look like it's going to be Max Strus, who I like as well. And then obviously Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. A lot of people are saying Mobley is going to take a leap this season. We know Jared Allen's one of the best centers in the entire league. And then that backcourt, just the offensive firepower is unmatched in this conference, in my opinion. And so this is a lockdown starting four, at least the big four. You know, they're just so dominant. You know, these guys play together under new coach Kenny Atkinson. I think is going to, you know, help them big time as far as their ceiling goes this season, and you know how he's going to be able to use these guys a little bit more effectively than maybe Coach Bickerstaff did. So, you know, at the end of the day, this lineup could be fourth or third, you know, if everything goes well with Coach Atkinson, and if he employs new strategies that, you know, get these guys to work together a little bit better and make the fit a little bit more seamless. And the only hole in this lineup isn't even really a hole, because, you know, Max Strus, Isaac Okoro, definitely good at starting threes. But the thing is, like, compared to the big four, it is a hole, but it's really not. It's just not a big five. You know what I mean? So I probably like Okoro, but it seems like they're going to go with Strus. He's a little bit more versatile offensively, actually a lot more versatile offensively. He showed a lot of playmaking, ball handling responsibility that last season that he was able to do that. So it makes sense for me personally. But anyway you slice it, you got to have a lot of shooting, you're going to have a lot of defense on the interior, and you're just going to win a ton of games, no question. For the number 4 starting lineup in the Eastern Conference, I have the Milwaukee Bucks. And honestly, I could have gone with the Cavs here. I might have, again, in different, you know, if I had more time to think about it, maybe I would, right? I wouldn't hate anybody for saying that the Cavs are fourth, but I will say about the Bucks, like, this starting five with their chemistry is going to be much improved this season. We know about Giannis and Brook Lopez's chemistry. Hopefully Chris Middleton can be super healthy to start this season. You know, I know he did get surgery, but he was playing a lot better towards the end of last season with Giannis and Dame being out in the playoffs. Like, any way you look at it, the lineup is definitely going to be Damian Lillard, Gary Trent Jr., who was a big upgrade on Malik Beasley, in my opinion. And then it's going to be Chris Middleton, Giannis, and Brook Lopez. You know, a superior defensive front court to anybody in the league, I think, personally. Offensively, you have a lot of shooting now with Gary Trent in the lineup. This is a guy that can, you know, hopefully play a lot of good point of attack defense as well. That's something that the Bucks really struggled with last season, was their perimeter defense. If Chris Middleton, he's obviously the X factor in this, but I've said this a million times, if he can play like he did, you know, in the playoffs last season, throughout this entire, you know, NBA season in 2025, the Bucks are in such good shape with this lineup. And so again, I just think the front court is so special with Giannis and Brook. Giannis being probably the second or third best player in the entire world. I'd probably say second, but you could say third, either one. Damian Lillard, you know, maybe a little bit of a subpar year for his standards, but he's going to have a bounce back season, I think. And so, you know, any way you look at it, this is a top tier lineup in the East. You could say 4, you could say 5, you could even say 3. I could hear a case for that. I personally just think they're fourth. Coming in at the number 3 spot, this is where, you know, top 3 folks, we're coming in for a landing. I have my Philadelphia 76ers, all right? You know, I could see the Sixers anywhere from 2 all the way to like 4th, right? But I think they're third. I think that makes the most sense to me. This lineup's gonna be Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre Jr., Paul George, Caleb Martin, and Joel Embiid. You know, on paper, this is maybe the best big 3 in the league. I've heard some people say that. I'd have to think about that a little bit more. You have about a top 5 player in the world. You have about 2 top 30 or so players in the world. Maybe even you could say top 20. I don't think they're both top 20. I don't know. 2 top 30s and a top 5. And then you have versatile defenders and two-way players in Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre Jr. for the wing position. And, you know, this lineup is exceptional, you know, offensively. I think you have a lot of shooting. You have just enough shooting. You're not going to be able to double Embiid as much with Paul George and Maxey on the floor. You could say maybe Kelly Oubre or Caleb Martin's going to have to make an open 3, but they're certainly capable of doing that. This lineup is just full of guys that can dribble, shoot, pass. I always love to see that for the versatility for lineups. That is the best thing you can have offensively. And on the defensive end of things, you know, this is a versatile defense. I think Tyrese Maxey maybe being the weakest of the bunch, but I don't think he's necessarily a bad defender. I think he's just a little bit smaller than you'd like. From 2 through 4, it is versatile heaven. You know, we have Caleb Martin, one of the league's most versatile and just really good defender overall. Kelly Oubre, another versatile defender, and Paul George, obviously known for his defensive acumen throughout his career. And then Joel Embiid, who's one of the most dominant rim protectors in the game when he's locked in and engaged. Again, the biggest thing for this lineup is just going to be health for my Sixers, but at the end of the day, I just think it is third best. There's not really many weaknesses in this lineup. Maybe you could say rebounding or shooting from, you know, outside of the big 3. You know, I think shooting isn't top tier. It's serviceable, but it's just not top tier. But I don't think that'll matter too much. They're good at other things, Caleb and Kelly, and then they're not bad shooters. They're just, you know, Kelly being a great finisher around the rim, getting to the free throw line. Caleb being a good drive and kick player. He's a, you know, certainly a smart player. I just think rebounding could be an issue with this lineup. No question, it's probably going to be. Again, the Sixers' depth obviously being a big part of this team. It's super good this year. But yeah, probably rebounding and Kelly Oubre Jr. and Caleb Martin maybe just being a tick or 2 worse than you'd like from 3. Other than that, it's super versatile versatile and not too many weaknesses in this lineup. I just think they could use a little bit, more size at the power forward, but I'm really nitpicking at this point for my team. Sixers ranked third. I'm trying to be unbiased about this, but I do think that's where they rank. At number 2, I have the New York Knicks. And, if you've looked at this lineup post-Cat trade, it is absolutely phenomenal. They are right up there, maybe top 5, certainly top 5 in starting lineups in the entire NBA. That's factoring in the East and the West. In the East, they are second, in my opinion, and not even by that much. Starting lineup for the Knicks is going to be Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns. And, not only do you have one of the league's best players in, Jalen Brunson leading the show, handling a lot of the offensive playmaking and ball handling responsibilities. He is one of the more clutch performers in the league. You can always count on him to make the right play. Listen, if he gets doubled, you have shooting for days, folks. You have Karl Anthony Towns, one of the most dynamic shooters we've ever seen. That goes for big men. He can get a shot off really quick and over anybody. He is such a great shooter. It is going to make this team so much better. The pick and rolls, pick and pops between Cat and Brunson are going to be elite. And then you have maybe the best wing defense in the entire league. Actually, no, it is. It is the two best. It is the best tandem of wing defenders, I believe. You could even make a case Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are up there. I think these guys are better at, wing defense. Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, that tandem is going to have every Eastern Conference forward in trouble, all right? And that goes for Paul George. That goes for some of the Magic's players, guys like Pascal Siakam. I mean, this is going to be really tough, all right? For teams with wing scorers that are, big parts of the offense, this is really bad matchup for those teams. As far as the center, this is a weakness of the Knicks just a few weeks ago, the weakness, right? And now you have one of the best in the league, maybe top 3 or top 4 for Karl Anthony Towns. And so, Josh Hart, another great defender, just so good and steady. You'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent from 3-point range. I know it wasn't an issue for him in the playoffs last season. He actually did pretty well. He is a fantastic rebounder, probably the second best rebounder in this lineup, honestly, which is crazy to say because he's probably going to be the starting 2 guard. But from 2 through 4, it's just positionless, and the defense is going to be on another level. I love the idea of surrounding Brunson with athletic wing guys that can defend. Karl Anthony Towns going to have to take a little bit of uptick in his offensive production. He's going to be asked to do a little bit more in this offense. While you have some knockdown snipers like OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, I don't know that necessarily those guys are going to be your number 2 options or number 2 creators. So I would like to see Cat, if I'm a Knicks fan, maybe be a little bit more assertive offensively. He's going to have to be the second option on this team, no question. He's got to shoot the ball really well, but more importantly, I just think 1 through 5 on offense and defense, it's elite. You take this lineup and stack it up against anybody else's, they are going to give them a tough game, assuming no substitutions. And so the Knicks, no question, they are number 2. I think they have really separated themselves starting 5-wise from the Sixers a little bit, and I would say it's just pretty close between them and the Celtics. And so that's pretty crazy to say. You could even say with the Celtics not having Kristaps Porzingis for the first couple months, this could be the best lineup in the East, starting 5. I don't know. Maybe that's disrespectful to the Celtics. I don't want to be disrespectful. Maybe I'm getting a little, overzealous. I'm a content creator, that happens sometimes, but I'm a exaggerator. I always exaggerate things, but either way, I think this lineup is fantastic. Certainly number 2. You can't even say, it's number 3. There's no world where this is the 3rd best lineup. And I'm a Sixers fan. Believe me, I want to say that. I just can't. For the number 1 ranked lineup, we all knew going into this video who this was going to be, including myself. Before I even wrote down the list, I knew it was the Celtics, and it is the Celtics. Spoiler alert. The lineup's going to be, at least to start the season, it's going to be Drew Holiday. It's going to be Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Al Horford. You could make a case that even that lineup is the first best in the East. I think I would listen to that case very closely and probably agree with you, although it would be close with the Knicks. When Kristaps Porzingis comes back, they separate themselves from the Knicks, in my opinion, with the starting 5. Listen, offensively and defensively, even with Horford, there's just very little weaknesses. I mean, very, very little. It's just 5 guys that you could basically ask to do anything any given night. Oh, we need you to shoot more threes. Any player 1 through 5. All right, I can do that. I'm a well above average 3-point shooter, off the catch, off the dribble. Hey, Derek White and Drew Holiday, we need you to be DPOY candidates every single night. All right, we can do that. No question. We're some of the best backcourt defenders I've ever seen. Hey, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. I know everybody's talking about which one's better. Why don't you both go out and put up 30 or 25 on good defense and versatile defense? Hey, no problem. We both do that every single year. All right. So this is just, it's not even a question, how great this, lineup all time would be, let alone this season. It's clearly number 1 in the Eastern Conference. With Al Horford, I think it's probably this, maybe by this much, it is the best in the East. With KP coming back in a couple months, hopefully he gets a speedy recovery. It's not even a debate at that point, between them and second place. So that is the list. Hopefully you guys do enjoy it. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video, leave a comment where, let me know where your team ranked. Do you agree with the ranking? Do you disagree? I know some of the, some of these picks might not make a couple fan bases happy. I try to take all of the, fan base stuff out of it, and what teams I like, what teams I don't like. I try to take all that stuff out of it and just rank unbiasedly and objectively who I think is, has the best starting five. I try really hard to do that for all of these videos. I pride myself on being unbiased on this channel. It's one of the things that I think would stand out about my channel. Now, I do love my Sixers more than anything, but I try not to let that affect the channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video wherever your team ranked. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a like. 15 likes on this video. I hope you guys can do that. I know you guys can. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. We're on the road to 15,000, and honestly, I'd love to have you as a part of the community because we're really trying to make this thing special, this channel. We're going to be uploading content every single day during the NBA season, all things NBA every day. It could be videos like this where we're ranking teams. It could be NBA news. It could be NBA gossip, drama, rumors. It could be creative videos like, the other day I made a video called Building an NFL Team Out of NBA Stars, and that was a fun video for me to make. So it could be a lot of different things, but it will be NBA content every day, all things NBA every day. Please subscribe and let me know down in the comment section that you did. I just love that I get to do this every day and share my passion about basketball. I just love it so much. And so the season's coming up. It's just gonna be so much fun. I don't want you guys to miss it. So also, this is a 4-part series. This is part 2 of the 4-part series. Check out the last video if you guys missed it, where we did this exact video, but just for the Western Conference. Drop a like and leave a comment over there as well. And then look forward tomorrow for part 3, and the next day part 4, where tomorrow's going to be ranking every Western Conference team's bench from worst to best, and then it'll be the East to round out the series. If you have any ideas for more videos, let me know down in the comment section. I always read comments and try to reply to as many as I can. There are a lot sometimes, so I might not reply to every single one, but I like to think I do about 80 or 90% of them. So yeah, I will definitely, I love engaging with you guys, and so hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today, and hopefully you guys are as excited for the part 3 of this series tomorrow. Follow my Twitter, follow my Twitch. This is your boy D-Have, and as always, peace.